All right, welcome back, everybody. We're going to get into this live stream now. And again, today we're going to be doing this a little bit different, not performing, but if you want to paint with me, this is the time. Go grab your canvas. And even if you're late, what's cool about this is if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or really most other platforms where you're seeing me right now like this, you can go back, you can pause it. You can, if you're finishing up a part, you can pause. And that's the beauty of this. So, by the way, Sarcasmus says it's 3 a.m. and you should be in bed, but you're watching this on Twitch. So I commend you and thank you, Sarcasmus. And also shout out to you for having an awesome name. Cassandra Tucker, watching from Palm Springs, California. All right, let's get to this. Let's go to the overhead camera, and I'm going to start off. Let me just center this real quick. I'm going to start off with a cool color to get my sketch done. So let's get a little bit of blue on this surface. And let's get some white to just wash that down a little bit. We're going to lighten it. And we'll get a nice thin brush. So let's just start off with this. We'll mix this white and blue together to get our sketch color. Sometimes I do like to do this. I'm going to do this right now. I'm going to dip this in a little bit of water just to, let it flow a little bit. And let's just start with, since I'm doing this trumpet player, let's just start with the head. So I'm going to start blocking in the head with just this. This is literally how it starts. If you see my paintings that I do, the fine art style, you're going to get that one major body line in. This may change later, but the beauty of this sketch is you want to be as free as you can when you sketch so that everything you put on top of that, it'll all feel loose, it'll feel free, and you can tell too, one other tip is I hold further back on my brush. So that allows me to be more free and have more control over the canvas. So I've got the head blocked in. Let's just put that there. And I'm going to imagine that the trumpet is going out this way. So I'm already trying to create a balance here. What I like to do with my figures and any objects on the canvas is creating this balance. So if I've got my figure going this way, I want my instrument to go the opposite direction. So right now I'm going to block in just the shape of the trumpet. This is, most artists get caught up in trying to draw out everything perfect before you even begin. And you got to just stop right there. And you take your time to just get a nice loose sketch down. Make your mistakes. Actually, start your mistakes, because the mistakes really never end. But everything starts off just like this. So yes, Jolie Lozano, hit that like button. Appreciate it. So I'm going to block in now where I would hope the hand will be. Get a couple fingers in here. Quick story. I actually grew up playing the trumpet. So if you, that's where, a lot of my inspiration comes from music, is because I love music. I love playing it. I grew up playing it. I'm just gonna get all this filled in. Now the style I'm gonna do today is, even though I'm marking in the figure, we're really gonna focus on the rendering out the face, the hand, and the trumpet. And the rest, we're gonna use some more solid colors to fill everything in. Let's just get this nice loose structure in. This guy is just like really stretched out. By the way, I have to address it because people do ask, do we sell these paintings? Yes. I would say 90% of the stuff that I make is mostly for sale and available. You can always visit garibaldiarts.com/gallery. So right now, let's just start blocking in where some of our shadows are going to be. So I'm using a darker blue now. So I went from light blue for the original structure of the sketch. Now I'm going to make notes for myself. So this will be, let's see. Let's put in some eyebrows there. Let's block in where the nose is going to be. And then the lips. So because this is a sketch, I'm not blocked into this yet. And I realized that my trumpet was a little too close to the face. So I'm going to let the trumpet react to where the lips are. And then I'll rebuild the end of that trumpet right there. And we'll render that out later. So it's going to have some big cheeks full of air. Let's put in some shadows real quick of the eye sockets. And you know what? I want him to have like a big hat on. I love hats. I love these like big flat brim hats. I don't know. I'll never have a bad hair day because I'm bald, but I still like wearing hats. All right. So I'm going to start blocking in. I'm going to go a little bit darker now. Again, you can paint along with me. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can actually pause it because it's on demand. And I believe you can go back. And if that's not the case, can someone let me know? I'm also going to mark in too because this is casting a shadow. I'm going to mark where that shadow is going to come into play on the hat. So even my skin tones will just be darker versions up here as we block that in. And we're going to continue just blocking in where some of the shadows are going to be. The face doesn't look like much now, but it has, for me, there's enough there to start working off it. So you see enough there. Let's add some more shadows. So especially on the parts that we're going to render out. So because we're going to focus on the face, the head, the hands, the figure, let's just add some shadows where that's going to be. This will also help you understand what you need to execute. So if you give yourself these notes, so these sketches are like notes to me. If there's shadow, I know it's going to be further back. That shoulder nice and high, and then let's just put some shadows down here. Imagining the light source coming from up above. Again, just like that. We're just kind of like scribbling this in right now. If you're just joining us, welcome. Just doing a painting tutorial right now. I know you normally see me jumping around, performing, but I'm really only able to do that because you got to take the time to really understand just the painting process and how to do this part. If you can get this part down, it makes jumping around and painting so much easier. It's fun regardless, trust me. But so I'm going to put some shadows on the trumpet so I know that that's going to be behind my figure. By the way, if you guys can do me a favor, the best way you can support this live stream is to actually share this video. So if you want to share this video, whether you're watching on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, or Periscope, just hit the share button, share it on your feed. And if you're looking for more content like this, you can just hit the subscribe button as well. All right. So I think I have enough shadows in here to give me a good idea of what's to come. So I'm going to ditch that brush and I'm going to move to, actually, you know what? Let's move to this brush right here. So no matter what canvas size you're using, you could be doing something that's a quarter of the size. Just grab a brush that's about this size in comparison to your canvas. Let's mix up some skin tones. So I'm going to get some yellow ochre. Let's start with that. We're going to get some yellow ochre. We're going to add some burnt sienna as well. And if you don't have these colors, you could still do this in monochromatic, which means different shades of one color. A little red as well. Oh, let me unplug that. All right. Got a little red on there just to tone it down a bit. So I'm going to bring this white in, mix it with my yellow ochre, and add a little bit of red to that. So it looks a little rosy, but I do want a more brown tint. So then I'm just going to go back and forth and just mix these until I get a good mid-tone that I'm happy with. So we already established that was quick. We got the sketch done. We got the figure in place. Now let's just start blocking in with just a solid color everywhere where this figure is going to be. So this arm, let's just fill it all in. So when I was in 3rd grade, they gave us choices of what instrument we wanted to play, and they had this like setup in the music room where you can go and sort of play with every instrument and sample it out. And for some reason, I don't know why, but I gravitated towards the trumpet, and I stayed committed to it up until from 3rd grade to really high school. And no lie, as much as I loved art, I really thought I was gonna be like a jazz musician. I still feel like a jazz musician at heart. I like to say I like to live the jazz life without having to be disciplined at my instrument, but I can live vicariously through my paintings. So we're just gonna block in just these solid colors. So you can see this skin tone is mixing in with the blue, which allows me to still see the difference between the shadows and that mid-tone. Or just be messy with this part, like just get in there. A question that, by the way, if you have any questions, if you're a creator out there, if you are, an artist and you're wondering about just different parts of becoming a professional, or if you're stuck on something, just feel free to ask in the chat and I'll do my best to answer those questions. I've made enough mistakes and I still make more that you can definitely learn from those. And I'll tell you what not to do. All right, so we're gonna keep blocking in this face. Let's just get a solid mid-tone down. And I love that this blue is mixing in with my skin tone because I know that that's where the shadow on the face is going to be. When you're painting, you really got to believe in your process. You got to trust it. Doesn't look like much when you start, but knowing that you're going to follow through and finish it. By the way, shout out to Karen Pang. Thank you for that comment in the chat. Appreciate it. And Karen, you said you're not an artist, but I believe that we're all artists. I believe that we're all creative. You just got to tap back into that. So someone said, which color do you use in big paintings? And I'm not really sure, but we're not doing big paintings today. We're just doing some small ones. So let's just get this flat color down. Just gonna move it around so that hopefully it dries a little bit more as we go on. All right, so I'm gonna leave that there. We're gonna let this skin tone dry, and then we're gonna move on to blocking in the trumpet, the instrument. If you think about your paintings in layers, that's at least what I'm trying to do right now. And also knowing that anything that you paint, or actually I already have yellow ochre there. Anything that you paint as well can be painted over. So don't ever feel like you have to strive for perfection at first. Get your idea out. All right, so let's block in the trumpet now. We're just gonna put a solid color in place for what we sketched out. Just super broad strokes right now. Super, super broad. details later. I got a little bit of color right there, behind. By the way, those of you that are watching on YouTube, Facebook, on Twitch, on Periscope, thanks for watching this. But I really do hope that there's an artist out there that's watching this that, you know, maybe got caught up on some steps that you really couldn't figure out, or maybe you're just looking for some new techniques to learn how to paint something, like an idea that you have. And I hope that this session will inspire you in some way. Hopefully you walk away a little bit more inspired. Hopefully you walk away with some more skill sets. So, all right, let's keep blocking in the trumpet. So yes, Kim, I think Kim signed up for my paint with. Kim on Periscope, I see you. I think you're in Australia. Signed up for the paint with Garibaldi night tomorrow night. Actually, tomorrow, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. I'm going to be teaching the Baby Yoda for my virtual paint night. So super excited about that. All right, so just like that, we got the solid color in there for the trumpet. Let's start rendering this out. So I'm just going to start adding, let's get where's my black? There we go. I'm going to start adding some shadows and highlights to this color. Let me get a little bit more fine tip brush to get these details. By the way, I wouldn't really consider myself a teacher. I'm just trying to explain my process though as I'm creating. It's the best that I can do. So if you have any questions like what Kevin Watson just asked on Facebook, feel free to ask. So Kevin, you asked, you came in late, but is this acrylics or oils? These are acrylics. So I use acrylics when I do these smaller paintings, and I use latex house paint for the larger paintings. But I use acrylics because they dry quickly. Oils tend to take a lot more time. And to be honest, I don't have a lot of patience. So thank God for acrylics, and they're my saving grace. So Kim said, yes, signed up for the entire year now. So yeah, we released dates for my paint with sessions, my virtual paint nights for the rest of the year. And you can find those at garibaldiarts.com/paint. So thanks for signing up, Kim. Appreciate it. I'll see you tomorrow. All right, so Dean on YouTube asks, have I ever done oil painting? And no, I have not. I have not ventured into oils, but I can't wait for the day that I do. I'm sure it'll be fun. All right, so Karen Pang asks, is Paint with Garibaldi a live-only event, or if it's paid, can you go back and rewatch it? Yes, so Karen, it is something you have to register and pay for, but the Paint with Garibaldi sessions are on demand for up to a week after we do the live session. The cool thing about the live session, though, is you get real-time feedback. So people are sending in their photos of their paintings or what they're sipping on, whatever else it is. It's super interactive. And you can ask me questions literally while we're painting, while you're painting as well. So that's probably my favorite part about the paint with sessions, but you have to ask some people that have taken it. So we started the virtual paint nights about a month or so ago, and I had so much fun with the first one. Didn't know I was going to do more, and we just kept doing them, and it took off, so I'm enjoying it. But I honestly, I love painting regardless. I know you see the performances, but this is how I started, and I'll be an old artist and still doing this stuff. All right, so I am just getting some shadows in. There's a lot more layers that are going to go into this, but you could see it just transforming right now. This is how all the paintings start. Let's just go a step further with our shadows. So I am going to add a little bit more black to this yellow ochre and get a little bit more fine-tuned with our shadows. We'll add some more details. So someone just asked, Kristen Van Til asked on YouTube, any advice you would give to an aspiring artist? And yes, there's a lot of advice I would give you. I would say my first piece of advice is, if you're aspiring, it means that you have time. And if you have that time, use it to learn. One disadvantage I have now, which you have an advantage over me, is you have time to take classes and to take, watch tutorials online. So it depends on what you're actually creating, but I always recommend taking figure drawing classes because it's one of the best things you can learn as an artist to just get better at figures. I obviously love doing figures, and it's, I would highly recommend that. The other thing too, outside of just taking classes and working on your skill set, I would highly recommend creating subjects that you're passionate about outside of art, which means you need to be into other things outside of art. As an artist, you've got to find a source of inspiration, and you can easily do that by really thinking about, what do you enjoy doing when you're not painting? And then it leads me to my next piece of advice, is those become your constant source of inspiration, which means you can constantly create. So I know there's a lot there, but there's so much that I would love to share, but just get started with painting classes or drawing classes. By the way, the paint with sessions, I don't move at this pace. We move a lot slower. We take our time. We work on one section at a time before we move on. All right. Let's now go the other direction in our colors, and let's add highlights to this. So I'm going to add now, take a big chunk of that white. I'm going to add it to this yellow ochre I've mixed up. And let's just start building this up little by little. We'll imagine that there's a light source up top. Just add little highlights. So also, there's different ways to execute this and paint this. I'm painting this in a quicker style right now because we're on a live stream. I can't keep you forever, but you can rewatch this and break down these techniques and think about, like, how can I apply this to what, how can you apply this to what you're painting? The way that the layers work. So just take your time to learn. Just getting those highlights on the trumpet. Also, I would consider this more of like a study as well. So this is like a learning process for me, hopefully as much as it is for you. All right. We are going to, let's add some color to this. So I do have purple. If you don't have purple, you can mix blue and red together and then a little bit of white to get your purple. But I'm going to add this purple one because it's going to complement the yellow well. But I just want to add in like a secondary color with this. And you'll be able to barely see this, by the way. But this will just help add a little bit more life. Go. And again, keep your questions coming in the chat. If you're watching on TikTok and Instagram, there's a link in my bio to watch this live. On YouTube, you can see the overhead view. And then be sure, if you're over there, be sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any future live streams. All right, I'm going to add some details to the trumpet. Just some... there's a lot of like piping on the trumpet, so just want to give some of those details on there. All right. So yes. So some people ask too, they're like, I want to see what we're going to do before we sign up. And honestly, that's cool if you want to know. Otherwise, people still sign up whether they know or not. But it'll always be something that will be good for all skill levels as well. And I'll walk you through the whole experience. Make sure you're on track. We take our time. So let's go back to these highlights. I'm going to add a little bit more white just to make that pop a little bit more. When we add color all around this, I'm going to go back and add a lot more details on top. But these paintings are really just, it's like an illusion. It's like a trick. It's like brush strokes that all build up one at a time. All right, so we're going to leave the trumpet how it is there. Let's start working on the figure now. So we've got our mid-tone down. Let's just start adding some shadows and highlights to render out the face and then the hands. So let's see. Let's mix up something over here. I'm going to pull these colors aside. The yellow ochre, the burnt sienna. Mix in a little bit of the crimson, and then let's tone that down. And I want to get a shadow color. So I want to get it a step down in tone from what's already here, just so I can mark off. Actually, let's go a little bit darker. So I'm just going to lay down this base color first of the shadow being casted on the face from the hat. And then we'll add shadows and highlights within that as well. We'll use that same color to start adding shadows to other areas on this face. Just really delicately, just creating some more shape on this face, which is really on this cheek. This cheek I wanted to stand out. So, and then also let's just block in that lip that's attached to the end of the trumpet right there. And let's pull that lip down. He's just... There we go. All right, so Miguel Pietri on Facebook just asked, which brushes do you recommend to start with? So I am actually using really, really basic brushes. These are synthetic, which means they're not like animal hairs or natural. And I say synthetic because they're gonna hold up to whatever you put them through. And if you're not as experienced, it's just has a great feel to it and a bounce. And I still use synthetic brushes. I know there's a lot of different options in the world out there, but that's what I prefer. So I would recommend, Miguel, use synthetic brushes. kind of mixing in this shadow area right here. Just blending that. We'll add the details in a bit. All right. So now let's get into the rendering of this face. I've already just established my sort of like my main shadow color. So I have a mid-tone for the skin and a mid-tone for the shadow being casted from the hat. And now within this, I'll start building it up. So I'm gonna add a little bit of white over here. I'm gonna pull some red into it and a little yellow ochre. We're gonna add some highlights. Just gonna pull that white in. We're gonna let that mid-tone do its job. Like, we don't even need to touch it. We're just gonna add the highlight to it. And we can always go back and add details later. Don't ever think that your current brushstroke is your last brushstroke. You'll save yourself a lot of heartache if you remind yourself that. All right, let's keep going. I'm going to add some white to this over here. Let's see what happens. I don't know. But I do want to define the eyelid at least. And then really what's going to really bring this to life in this area up here is the shadows. You know, we start adding those hard shadows like the eyelid, or I'm sorry, the eyelashes. Just give enough definition that you can see. There we go. So let's just keep building up the highlights now. I'm going to add a little bit more white to this. So one thing I'm noticing is because my paint is still wet, that it's not always it's actually blending too much. So some parts I'm gonna leave it there, let it dry, and then we'll get back to it. But you can see right now, I'm gonna recap. We started with the sketch. By the way, if you're on TikTok or Instagram, go to the link in my bio so you can see this overhead the way that I'm seeing it. But we started with just really rough sketch, giving us an idea of where to start. We were as loose as we could be with that, and then we just put in some flat colors for the face and the arm and hand. And then we focused on filling in the trumpet because it was in the background. We built that up a little bit, and now we're just going to take our time rendering out the face and the hands as well. But I'm going to let that dry a little bit. I like where it's going, so let's go ahead and move on to the hands and work on that next. And that is a little too light, so I'm going to go a little darker. There we go. And let's just pull this color. Now, I am going to keep this part shadowed a little bit. So I'm going to keep my highlights to this side of the hand, imagining that the fingers are casting a shadow, and also to create depth on that hand. You see that one line that goes through. This is a great, try to create some flow in your figures. The more you can not interrupt the flow of the body, the more natural it's going to feel, because naturally we're balanced beings. When we're walking, when we're running, our bodies are super smart and they just naturally balance themselves. So if you want, your figures to feel more believable, even if they're in motion, just try to find flows, try to find balance in those figures. And that's something I could spend, hours talking about and teaching, but I'm just explaining it as I go. Let's add some highlights to the top of the knuckles. Go back here to my palette. All right, so Stephanie Salmon on Facebook said, from one wannabe trumpet player to an amazing artist. I appreciate that. I absolutely love this. Thank you so much for that. I am also a wannabe trumpet player, which is why I'm doing this. But no, thank you for joining. I appreciate it. And thanks for the comments. By the way, thank you everyone who's commenting right now on this live stream. I appreciate it. All right, let's keep building this up. I'm gonna let's pull a little bit more black into the skin tone and just add a little more shadow to the arm. Again, if you don't like the colors that you're seeing when you're painting, say you mix up a color and you're like, all right, this is it, and then it's not, it's okay. Let it dry, paint over it, and then move on to your next step. All right. Mix in some more shadows. There we go. So I'm going to try to create some depth between parts of this hand. And create some lines. We'll add details to the knuckles later, but for now, just going to indicate a little bit of where the knuckles are. By the way, shout out to all the real art teachers out there. You guys are the real stars. It is not easy to explain the process sometimes. I'm trying my best. But there's some super talented art teachers out there. I had an incredible art teachers actually, growing up. I went to Sheldon High School in Sacramento, California. It's in kind of near Elk Grove, which is outside of Sacramento. And they just were incredible, just teachers that changed my life. So appreciate that. I'm trying to channel them right now. All right, let's go a step further on the shadow. I'm going to add a little bit more black, and I just want to create that little line, this thing right here, this line just made a thumb right there. So sometimes it's all it takes is one small brush stroke. Shout out to John Vickery on YouTube. Appreciate the love. Stephanie Salmon, thank you again. Appreciate it. And Spigs on YouTube says, I remember seeing you on GT Live a while ago with Stephanie and Matthew. Yes. Thank you for that. Matt Pat, actually. All right. So we have enough here to work with. Let's just start adding some highlights to define these hands a little bit. I would normally spend more time really working those fingers out, but I'm going to work them out enough so that we can get through this live stream. I'm doing all this live right now. I'm literally just mixing these colors around on the palette. Just get that finger highlighted a little bit more. By the way, I'm also going to block in around these fingers some more. I'm imagining them being wrapped around like this. So I may need to shorten them actually so that they make a little bit more sense. But we will do that later on. So, all right. So Robin Schaefer says, like Bob, you make it look so easy. Just happy little shadows. That's all it is. It's like magic. It's like brushstrokes. I honestly never thought that I would be doing this. I've always been in the space of my whole life to paint for people, to perform, to do commissions and so on. But, the beauty of this period of time, of unfortunately, the world being affected by COVID, for me, it brought out this other side that I enjoy teaching. I really enjoy this part. So, and also growing in, I have a lot more to grow in. So just putting little lines for the knuckles. And I know, again, I'm going to bring that down. Matter of fact, you know what we'll do? No, we'll leave that because there's another lesson I want to teach with blocking all this in later. So we're going to leave that there. Let's let that dry. Let's go back to the face and start defining that a little bit more. I'm going to use the same exact brush. So same brush. Let's pull that black into the skin tone. Just go a little bit darker. And now with this brush, so check it out. If you can see this, I'm going to rotate it. One side is flat because I pressed it out over here. And this is going to give me a lot of versatility now, depending on what I'm going to do. Let's go a little darker. That wasn't dark enough. So all we're going to do is go back to the palette, add more black. Got some eyebrows in there. And then this part, I'm like rotating to the right part of my brush. Let's put a little wrinkle right there. A little more definition in the ear. Again, we won't get too crazy with that today. Let me ask you this. If you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or Periscope, I have a question for you. Should we give him facial hair or should we leave him clean shaven? I'm going to let you tell me that. You guys are going to take part in this creative process. For now, I will leave it how it is, and I will let you help me decide if we give him facial hair or not. All right, let's go a little bit darker on our shadows on the face, and then we'll go the opposite, and we'll go lighter with the highlights. All right, so everyone's saying clean shaven. All right, but Miguel said sideburns. So, all right. So, Deep Art by Deepankar on YouTube said clean shave. Stephanie Samus said clean shave. Paula said keep them clean. All right, but Miguel on Facebook, we're gonna add the sideburns. We'll do that much of facial hair. I don't know. Are sideburns considered facial hair? I don't know. I don't have hair, so I couldn't tell you guys. So just like that. Got some sideburns. Which means we do need to connect some hair here. So we've got sideburns. Maybe there's like a little bit of like hair coming out. The front. We'll define that more later. You hear me say that a lot. Basically, we'll get back to that. Let's add some hair back here. All right, just like that. So clean shaven, he's got sideburns. Boom, there we go. Now let's add some highlights to this face. So when I say render out the face, and you could decide how much shadow and how much highlight, because your painting is based on your personal style. My particular personal style is I love to have the stark difference between a dark shadow and a bright highlight. So that's why I love this part right here. Just a little bit of highlight, just like that. We'll put a little bit on the top of his lip. And really anywhere else we want to define that there's shape to it. So the shape is going to come from where we put our highlights and shadows. It's what gives the illusion of shape. And really all we're doing is adding brushstrokes and paint. All right, let's go back to the hands. The face is got enough going on there. Let's just add the highlights. Just up this, look at this flow. We want to go all the way up this way, creating that balance in our figure. Take that highlight all the way up there. Let's get into this part right here. Just want to add a little bit of a highlight for that tendon. I think that's the part of the behind the knuckle. There we go. Just a little bit of a definition for that. All right. If I go quiet, by the way, if for whatever reason, if I go quiet, I'm just trying to concentrate. All right, let's define these knuckles a little bit more. I'm going to go back to that same black that we use for the facial features, which is black mixed in with the skin tone. So it's not completely black, it's just dark enough. Just shadows, that's all it is. All right, we're just defining some of these knuckles now. The lines. This is one of the most fun parts of hands is the character of the knuckles. It's like they take a life of their own. So someone asked, Lacey Wilkinson on YouTube asked, would you say you have a photographic memory? You've expressed that you practice memorizing points and markers for your subjects. How long do you think it took you to master this? I would answer this with yes and no, because there's a lot of preparation that goes into, doing things. But what helps though is when you paint figures often, you do build up a memory of where certain parts are supposed to go. So I've been doing this for quite a while now, for about 18 years professionally, and just an artist my whole life. So I would say I'm constantly studying, just what goes where, and then also learning, making those mistakes. So Lacey, to answer your question, I definitely developed my memory, but I had to develop it, and I just kind of learn as I go. All right, let's keep adding those shadows down the arm now. I'll also, when it comes to your personal style of your paintings and what it looks like, your paintings will look different than mine. And that's okay. But your personal style will be affected by either your influences, so your subject matter, what you're into in or outside of art, and it'll also be affected by your skill set. So dip that in some water. So the more that you practice and learn, the more it'll affect your personal style, and hopefully you're growing and your personal style becomes more confident. And that really only truly comes from just doing the work, putting the work in. All right, we've got enough there. I'm gonna add one more highlight to the arm. We're gonna go just like this highlight right here. Let's just add that to the arm, which is almost white, but not quite. You can quote me on that. Just in the important parts. Just enough. All right. Again, this part right here up top, we're going to block that in with the color on the outside. So, Jamako Norris on Periscope, thank you for the love. All right, let's start rendering out the clothes. And also, you know what? Let me throw in one more shadow back here for the other hand that is gripping the trumpet on the other side. I mean, he could just be like, you know, if you see me in the top corner, you could see me. He could just be holding in one hand, but I do want to put a shadow in just real quick of what would be his left hand. We're going to mark that, and then we'll move on to what's next is the hat, the shirt, and the clothing, and then we'll block in the background. And then we'll be in the home stretch. So I won't render out the hand back there because it's not really showing, but let's just imagine there's another hand back there, another arm reaching around. And then we'll add a little bit more shadow to that. So defining the difference between the hand in the foreground and also behind the trumpet as well. There we go. So just like that, just imagine another arm right back there. Okay, I'm switching up brushes now. Let's go with this larger brush. What color should we do this? I'm gonna stick with the blue. Let's stick with the blue look. I'm feeling that. We've got enough blue here for now. I'm gonna add a little bit of black to the blue, and I want to create more of a silhouette first, and then we'll add highlights. So let's just block in first the clothing. We will not overthink this. Super broad strokes. I'm going to add even more shadows to this, but let's just get a good solid base down. I'm going to leave this here because we're going to do another color for highlights. But for now, so someone's suggesting a red, yellow, red combo. I'm gonna go with the cool color because it is jazz and it's a cool mood. It's chill. Let's go with that. We'll save the yellow and red combo for another painting. All right, let's block in the clothing. I'm going to go outside of that because we're going to block it in later with another color. So it's okay if we go outside the lines. You know the saying. Actually, I don't know the saying. I don't think there is a saying about outside the lines, but it's okay if you go outside the lines. That's what I'm telling myself. By the way, if I know that when we started this, I kind of surprised you and said we're going to do a painting like this. If someone is painting along, awesome. If not, it's okay. But I do encourage you. This is going to be on demand on my channels. And do this painting. I encourage you to try it. Try these techniques. Send me a DM and let me know how it went. What part did you need more help with? But you'll only know if you try. All right, just putting in some shape right here for the shirt that's pulled up on his sleeves. Got the sleeves pulled up. Let's just get that color in. Just adding black to that blue. And again, we'll only go up so far because we're going to add another shade of that blue here. But block it in enough that you have a great solid silhouette of your image. So I'm going to clean that brush off. And we're going to get some more blue. This is a ultramarine blue. We're going to mix that same color up. So it was the blue with the black, but this time we're going to introduce white, which is going to naturally lighten it. And we can start adding it where we want highlights. That's not light enough. Let's try that again. There we go. And then we'll just build on top of this. While I'm working on this, I will need a name for him. So if you have any ideas of what we should name him, feel free to share in the comments, in the chat. Let's go a little bit lighter. So Mateo Charles, shout out to Mateo. He suggested Pedro as his name. Also, shout out to Frozen King 772 on YouTube. Appreciate the love. All right, let's keep building these highlights up on the shirt. We go a little bit lighter. Again, if I go quiet, I'm just concentrating. Jacob the Trumpeter. All right, Trumpito. All names and suggestions from YouTube. We'll pick one. So I may need a recap at the end, but I'm just hopefully getting your ideas flowing. All right, not gonna overthink this, but I'm gonna add a little bit more shadow and then we're gonna move on to the next step. The purpose of this is really just to study and to get the reps in. And by that, I mean, the more you paint, the more you're just naturally going to learn. The worst thing you could do as an artist or a creator is to get caught up in what you just painted. You're like, oh, nope, I just made something. I'm going to hold off. And that's where you get stuck. That's where you start getting blocks. You got to keep your creativity flowing. Gonna mix these up a little bit. There we go. I'm sure there's actual technical terms for the techniques I'm using, but I don't know. I'm just I will explain it if you want me to, but for right now I'm just kind of flowing with this process. And by the way, if you're watching this right now, please share this on your page, share it on Twitter. Just that's the best way to support these live streams, is when you share these videos. Helps us grow our audience and helps us do more of these. And if you haven't already done it, hit that subscribe button on YouTube. All right, let's leave that there. Let's actually do this. Let's add a little bit more shadow to the bottom of the figure. And that's just blending really, really well with the blue that's already there and the shadow. I'm gonna block this in. I know this looks kind of crazy right now, but we'll block that in with the outside color when we get there. Let's move on to the hat. Remember, this will be on demand and available on demand on my YouTube channel when I'm done. So some questions that came in. Frozen King 772 asked, what inspired you to be an artist? And that's a great question. But I just feel like I've always been an artist. I don't feel like I ever grew out of it. I feel like a big kid sometimes that just never really grew up. So what inspired me to be an artist was just to stick to my creative guns my whole life, for better or for worse, and enjoy the journey. There are artists though that have inspired me. You know, everyone from Ernie Barnes to Justin Bua to you know, people like Al Hirschfeld. So many different influences, but the creative part, I just never wanted to give it up. Now, what inspired me to become a professional artist was definitely just growing up and having that dream my whole life. I just didn't know exactly what it was going to look like. I've been blessed to do this for 17 plus years now as a profession. Ooh, someone said feather in his hat. So Miguel, I love the wardrobe choices. Thank you. Let's just pull that color outside the lines. So Miguel, we'll render this out a little bit more, and then we'll add that feather. One more shadow for the hat, and then we're going to add some highlights. So I'm just going to add white now to the color that's already there. And when I'm doing this, I'm just applying pressure and alleviating pressure as I move on the canvas. I think I need more white. So let's put some more white on here. All right, Miguel, stay tuned. We're about to add that feather in his hat, so. Let's use that same brush. And we're gonna go with our black paint. We'll create a silhouette of the brush. I'm sorry, a silhouette of the feather. Maybe he uses his feather as a brush. I don't know. Oh, what direction should we? Let's go up this way. By the way, I'm adding this feather because Miguel on Facebook suggested it. It's that simple. This is now a collaboration. That's a big old feather. There you go. Miguel, what do you think? Hopefully you're still watching because you made the suggestion. So you gotta let me know what you think. And then let's put one little... There we go. All right, on to the next step. We're gonna start blocking in the outside. I wanna keep this like maybe a, oh man, what color? Let's go with, I wanna keep it light. Let's go with this purple. And then a little bit of black. So it'll be like a grayish purple. We'll start with that and we'll see where it goes. But we're in the home stretch now. So now, this is a little trick I'm going to teach you, is once you get your figure all done, as much as you can, use this outside color to start blocking it in. And by that, I mean clean up all those edges. I'm going to take this color all around the figure. And just with the side of the brush, it'll start giving me clean edges, if that's what you want. Again, there's so many different ways to paint, to create. This is just a little trick, especially when doing paintings at a faster pace. And then here's that trick I told you earlier. I wanted to change the shape of this, so I'm going to use this color to cut that in a little bit more. So this blue next to it is getting mixed in, and I kind of like what it's doing. So I'm just going to keep mixing that in. Let's just see where this goes. We are getting near the end. If you watched the whole thing, thank you. If you're just tuning in, I switched up my live stream today. Instead of performing for you, I wanted to paint with you. And I'm just getting warmed up for my Paint with Garibaldi virtual paint night happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And you can register for that at garibaldiarts.com/paint. Actually, we'll share that at the end. So I'm going to keep this. Let's get lighter as we get closer to the figure now. And you know, I'm gonna be really free with this. But use this outside color to just have some liberty to block in everything, maybe clean up all those edges that you didn't have before. If you go into the object more than you anticipated, it's okay. Just paint over it. I'm gonna add a little bit of yellow into this color up top. I don't know why. Maybe it's like the trumpet sound in the air. You know? Can put a little bit back here. Maybe it's a light coming in. Who knows? You can be imaginative. I do want to play with this though. Maybe there's some smoke coming in. You know, while that paint is still wet, I'm gonna take advantage of it. I don't know, maybe not. I don't know. I'm pretty much guessing at this point. I think I remember how to paint. But actually, again, this is the creative process. I'm learning in front of you right now. I'm just figuring this out with you. But if you're watching this later, I hope that you take your time. Don't try to paint this in the speed that I'm painting. Paint it at your pace and pause the video. You know, go back and add stuff that I didn't do, that I didn't think of. I would love to see what you come up with. Got those little tints of yellow coming in. All right, so Miguel, you said awesome. I'm assuming that was about the feather in the hair. So I'm gonna go a little bit more purple around the hat so that we can have some really true definition between the two, between the background and the hat. We're definitely in the home stretch. After I get this background color on, we're just going to add some really fun lines to sort of bring this all together as soon as I get this filled in. If you can hear me right now, if you're still watching this, I would love to check in with you and ask you, where are you watching this live stream from? So where in the world are you? Let me know in the chat. What city, what state are you in? Is our Instagram still live? Cool. All right. If you can hear me on Instagram, go to the link in my bio so you can see this painting before we're done. Check it out from overhead because that's how we're presenting it right now on YouTube, on Facebook. You'll want to see this before it's done from that point of view. All right, so I see Kim in Melbourne, Australia. Jeanette Millington in Australia. Larry Johnson in Sacramento. I'm gonna cut those hands down right there. I mentioned it earlier, but that's what's happening right there. All right, another one from Australia. Mel M from Sydney, Australia. Robin from, I think that's Minnesota. Cut those hands down way more. Feels so much better. You're not done until you're done, so you can still work on it. You can still finish things up. All right. Add a little bit more of that light color up here. Using the side of my brush to get those clean lines on my subject. All right, I'm gonna switch brushes. I need a little bit more control in this area. So let's start with this one, and then we'll see where that goes. Something in me changed, don't know why. Don't know why. You got me high, but I'm sober. You make me lonely when I'm by myself. I should be. So some areas and details that I don't cover, I'm going to come back to it with another sort of technique that I like to do. I like to call those energy lines, to put some more energy throughout the image. And not only does it add energy, it also covers up my mistakes. Just getting in there, those little details. There we go. So when I started this painting, and I'm going to share this because I'm getting near the end, this was really about, it started off with the structure of the sketch and being as free as possible with that initial sketch. So holding further back on my brush, giving myself the freedom to have full range over the canvas, and then laying out a framework that I can build on top of that. And if my framework and my sketch is free, the painting will feel free. And I just want to encourage you to just try to make your sketch free. Take that time. Take your time with that. All right. I'm going to add some light blue to this brush. And let's just start adding some of those energy lines. You can also use this technique to draw the viewer's attention to different parts of the painting. You can use it to cover up parts of the painting that maybe you missed. Or like this, you just want to add some movement and some energy. But this could also be part of your personal style. It's up to you. This is your painting. This is your world. This technique can help create depth. We're getting near the end. We were undiscovered, didn't care for one another, you and I. Thought I was okay, till something in me changed, don't know why.
You got me high, but I'm sober. You make me lonely when I'm by myself. I should be free, but I'm hoping that we could be something in the end, something more than friends.
All right, we're getting near the end. Just adding some details where I want to draw your attention towards, or maybe I just want to just help this painting feel more finished.
Same as the beginning, waste of time. Somehow you intruded, lost in your illusions. I was fine.
All right, I think we're about there. Let me just add one more little set of, we'll call them energy lines. I want to mix something up that's kind of like a skin tone. Thank you again. Thank you, Kim. I appreciate the love. Glad you're enjoying this.
We were undiscovered, didn't care for one another. You and I.
Getting near the end of this. Just adding some fun lines around. This is stuff that's totally unnecessary, but as an artist, I'm just feeling it out. Going with the flow. All right, that is it. All done. Let me sign this. Let's find a nice thin brush to do this. That won't work. Let's use this brush. There we go. And then we'll let you take one last look at it after I sign it, just to see it from overhead. We'll keep it there for about 30 seconds. And let's sign this. A little homage to my trumpet playing days as a child. Even though it's not a child playing, this is what I felt like when I was young. Playing the trumpet, it forever had a impact on my life. And forever grateful for that time to just be inspired by music, and has set me on this creative path. And I believe you guys named him, so we'll go with Trumpito. Trumpito is his name. So just keep it right there for about 30 seconds, and then we're gonna hold it up, and we'll do a quick goodbye to everyone. But thank you so much for watching. This is the finished result. If you're watching on TikTok or Instagram, go to the link in my bio so you can see this right now. Just move those out of the way. You guys named him on the live stream, and I believe it was Ethereal Hizzy. Yes. So Ethereal Hizzy. You named him Trumpito. All right, take one last look from in the front. So we just did this on the live stream. You guys watched it here. If you can see it over there, I don't know if you can see it, but thank you all so much for joining. Don't go anywhere. I believe, do we have, oh no, we don't have it up yet, but I'm gonna actually give you guys a code to join the Paint With session, the virtual paint night that's happening tomorrow at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So stay tuned and take one last look. So thank you everyone for joining this live stream. Let me show it to you again. Yes, his name is Trumpito. They named him in in the chat. So I appreciate that. If you want to join me for a virtual paint night tomorrow, let's throw the site on the screen, garibaldiarts.com/paint. You can register there. Just look for the November 7th date. And also, let's put a code up on the screen that'll save you $10 from the registration. And this is if you have, hopefully, supplies as well. So we'll just pull that. There we go. So use this code at checkout, paint10. You can visit garibaldiarts.com/paint. Check on, or just click the check dates, select the November 7th one, and then at the checkout, use the code paint10 to save you $10 off. Not only this one, but any future ones. It's just a gift from me to you. And otherwise, everyone else who's registered for tomorrow, I'll see you at 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Thank you for watching this live stream. I appreciate it. I know we did something different today, but I will be back. Actually, I don't know if I'll be back next Thursday because I may be traveling, but we do these live streams every Thursday and Friday. And before we sign off, one last look from up above. There he is, Trumpet right there. And join me tomorrow for that virtual paint night. Register at garibaldiarts.com/paint and use paint10 at checkout for $10 off. All right. Peace, guys. Thank you.